Hi and welcome to Outwell and to our Harrier XL from our Smart Air TC collection. This is a 4-room tunnel tent which can sleep up to 6 people across 3 bedrooms. For me though, the key defining feature of this particular tent is the frame that we're using here. So in place of the traditional steel or fiberglass poles, you'll actually find that this entire frame is made up of inflatable tubes. More detail on that though is that we're using our one-go inflation technology, which allows us to inflate the entire tent from just one single valve point, which we'll just show you down here. So you can see just here on this middle tube here that you actually have an air in and air out. Obviously we want to be using the air in here. You just pull this back and you'll see that we have a one-way valve to attach the pump to. Just below this valve you'll find the air out valves. Now there is actually one of these on every beam down the side of the tent, so when it comes to taking it down, we simply just need to open this up and the tent will deflate really quite quickly. The pump that we use with the tent is supplied, it does come with the tent, and you'll find that it's a double action hand pump, and you'll also just find that on the top here, you actually have a manometer which will tell you what pressure you're inflating the tent to. And just for your information, the tent can actually be inflated from between 0.6 and 0.8 bar, which represents 8.7 to 11.6 psi. Now what that means is actually we can get a lot of air into these tubes, which makes the whole tent very, very solid and very stable, even in high wind conditions. Now what I'd like to do is just show you some features inside the tent. A nice feature at the front of the tent is this canopy area which is attached to the front here with the side panels, just giving you a little bit more protection around here. So for me this area would be ideal for maybe a kitchen storage unit or some furniture so you can sit in the shade on a nice day. Stepping into the tent you'll find that the front door is of a good size, so getting all of your kit in and out of the tent should be very simple, very easy. The door itself obviously can be fully zipped around to be sealed, and the ground sheet can be lifted to zip along the bottom of the door as well. The door is just rolled away at the moment as you can see, but it does have a large window on there, also with a curtain behind it as well. Stepping into the tent, it's certainly very spacious in here. Lots of large windows around, flooding the area with light, making it feel that little bit more spacious. And I certainly have plenty of headroom here, and I'm quite tall at about 1.95 meters. So just while I'm highlighting the headspace here, I'll also just point out the frame that we mentioned on the outside. So this is where you can see that each individual tube is actually attached to each other, which gives us the ability to inflate the whole tent as one. Once that is done, all we have to do is simply take these valves and turn them to the off position, and what that does is then individually separates each tube so that in the unlikely event of something going wrong, each tube will be separate from each other. So some other features just to highlight there. I did mention that there's lots of large windows around here. If you do want a little bit more privacy, or if it's maybe just a little bit too much sunlight coming in, then you'll find each window has its own curtain, which we just have rolled away at the moment. These curtains are also polycotton as well, so they can be brought up either halfway, or obviously they can be brought up fully to the top as well, just giving you that privacy that was mentioned in there. Across the tops of the windows you'll find we have these ventilation panels which correspond to outside panels which can be opened and closed, which we'll show you again in a little bit more detail just in a little while. Towards the back of the tent is where the bedrooms are, and as I mentioned earlier on, this tent has 3 bedrooms and can sleep up to 6 people. And for me again, another really nice feature here, when you buy the tent and you pitch it for the very first time, these bedrooms are already in place for you. They're pre-attached, so that's a job that you don't need to worry about when it comes to pitching the tent. The bedrooms themselves, you can see, actually have some nice detail to them with the stripes, adding that sort of interior design feel to the tent. And then also we have our wave-shaped hanging point system across the top, which attaches the bedrooms to the tent itself, and does 2 things really. It gives it a nice finish with the luminous wave shape at the top here, but also from a more functional point of view, it takes any stress off of the top seam of the bedrooms here as well. So some other features that I'd just like to highlight here would be the fact that the doors themselves, you can see, have some mesh ventilation panels on the front, and obviously we have curtains behind these, so we can have them open like this, or you can have them closed if you want a little bit more privacy. You also then have some handy storage pockets on the outside, which are great for smaller possessions, so you keep them safe. And another great feature here is the fact that we are using our universal bedroom system. what that allows us to do is actually drop one half of the bedroom on this side or on the other side, depending on what suits you better. All we have to do is simply just unclip around the top and take these zips here, and you can see from here how we would do that. So some other features of the universal inner here is that you'll find the bedrooms are separated by these good quality sheets here, just for a little bit of privacy. If you do want to open them up, they simply zip fully open, and you can create one large bedroom across the back here if you want to. Across the back of the bedroom, you'll find that there's a large ventilation panel, which again corresponds with outside panels. And there's also some handy storage pockets, again, just to keep your smaller possessions nice and safe. Another couple of features to highlight would be the fact that in the centre of the tent here we do have a lantern hanging point, and then leading away from that you'll find that we have these Velcro tabs here. Now these are cable tidies, so that if you do have an electric lantern in the middle, you can then keep the cable nice and tidy and run it all the way down to this point here, which is our cable entry point, where you can bring electrics into your tent without having any cables running through the doors. Just speaking of doors here, you'll also find that we do have a side entrance on the tent here, and you'll find that the entrance itself does have a full mesh door which can be zip closed as we have done here, giving you great ventilation properties, but hopefully keeping out those unwanted bugs as well. The last thing to talk about inside the tent will be the ground sheet. Now this ground sheet actually from front to back and side to side is fully sealed. It's a really nice material as well. It's an Oxford polyester, so really good quality, totally waterproof with a hydrostatic head of 10,000 millimeters. As I say, with it being fully sealed, it's actually bathtub in style as well, so it does come up around the edges. So again, you're not going to have any draft coming in there. Hopefully keep out things like dust and dirt, and more importantly those unwanted creepy crawlies too. So features on the outside of the tent, start off with the fabric that we use itself on here. So this is a Outex Airtech material. This is a 65% cotton and 35% polyester. And what that means is this is going to last a very, very long time. So it has very good UV degradation qualities where it's not going to degrade very quickly at all. Another really nice thing about polycotton tents is they react to the environment that they're in. So they're quite breathable, so on a warm day it will keep you nice and cool, but actually vice versa as well. On a cool day the material will react to keep you that little bit warmer too. I did highlight some of the windows from the inside, but what I didn't mention was that the windows are all completely tinted, so it serves two key functions really, the main one being privacy. You can see here, not particularly easy to see in the tent, but from inside you can see quite clearly out. And the other nice thing about tinted windows is they just reflect a little bit of the sun's glare on the inside, just keeping you that little bit more comfortable as well. So here we can see the ventilation panels that I mentioned earlier on. So these just cover the mesh that we showed you from the inside. And we'll just show you as well that if it does get a little bit too chilly and you don't want quite as much ventilation, you can just get rid of these quite easily by taking the Velcro tabs like so. Something else, I just want to point out that the canopy we mentioned earlier on at the front is created using this Duratec fiberglass pole here, so as I said earlier, giving you that really nice spacious area towards the front of the tent. Some other things to highlight then would be the floating guy lines that we're using here. So this is where we have the classic luminous guy line at the bottom here, just so that when it's a little bit darker you're not going to be tripping over. And then we have the black guy line at the top, which just ties in with the trim of the tent. Another nice feature on the guy lines themselves is that we're using the retainer system that we have here. So when it comes to packing down the tent, we can simply wrap up the guy lines in our hands and pop them in here so that the next time we come to use them, they're nice and easily accessible. Something else that we supply with the Harrier XL is our easy pegging system. And this is where we supply you with 3 different styles of pegs with the tent. We have the solid steel anchor pegs here for the corners. We then have the luminous pegs here for the luminous guy lines, and we also have the black plastic pegs for all the other black pegging points around the side of the tent. Also around the front porch area, you will find that we have these mud valance on here, just to really encourage any rainwater that will run down away from the inside of the tent. So the last thing to highlight would be just that we have a couple of optional extras available for the Harrier XL, which would include a footprint to go under your ground sheet, and also a carpet which you saw inside for the living area, just giving you that extra little bit of comfort. So that is all the features of our Harrier XL from our Smart Air TC collection. Thank you very much for watching.